welcome in. It is a Tuesday edition of 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. Of course, you can listen as well. That is PGA Tour Radio's Channel 92 on Sirius XM. I am Gary Williams. Great to have you with us. This program always brought to you by Century Insurance. They are right by you. They invest in great things in the game of golf. They partner with the United States Golf Association. They partner with the First Tee. We are very proud that they partner with us as well. Our 3 North Carolina-based companies, Golf Pride. I just got new irons yesterday. They were on the front doorstep. It's Christmas. It's your birthday. It's all those things. And the Align Max grips are on those new clubs because nobody is better through the bag, including the reverse taper putter grip series that they've got as well. Peter Millar, if you want this Crown Comfort pullover in geranium, you can have it at petermillar.com. You can have everything you could possibly need, no matter what your needs are, because it is the #1 lifestyle brand. It is petermillar.com. And of course, the cradle of American golf, it's the Pinehurst Resort when it comes to making a trip and knowing you're going to have playing options, dining options, and accommodation options in terms of where you want to stay. You want to stay at the Manor, you want to stay at the Carolina Hotel. You have got so many choices, including those new cottages at Pinehurst #8. If you want to hunker down with a group of people, you can do that as well. The Pinehurst Resort, the cradle of American golf. We got a full show today. We are expected to be joined by the Ryder Cup captain for the United States, Keegan Bradley, also Keith Stewart from Read the Line, as well as the host of The Starter on Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio, Taylor Zarzour, and Wagyu Filet themselves, Brendon de Jonge, Johnson Wagner. We may go to Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know if we'll have enough time over the next hour, but we will do that. It's interesting to note that it was a year ago because there are very few things in life now that are genuine surprises. I mean, think about it. There just aren't. Kids find out everything. Your friends usually will text or share information. It's hard to hide things. But the game of golf over the last couple of years has actually provided us with a couple of truly like, wait, are you serious kind of moments. One of them was when they announced, and that was June 6th a couple of years ago. That was 2023. June 6th, the day that you're like, wait, what did you say about a framework agreement between LIV and the PGA Tour? That was a shocker. July 8th of 2024, 1 year ago today, was the disclosure that Keegan Bradley was going to captain the United States Ryder Cup team. That shocked virtually everybody. I know it surprised him because it wasn't something that he found out that day. That was the day that they shared with everybody else. But you know what? Nobody knew that they were airtight in terms of nobody knowing it, because it was actually him finding out when he was leaving the Travelers Championship, an event that he just most recently won when he was with his family, that he got the call and he was like, "Squeeze me? What did you just say?" So golf has given us genuine surprises. And with Keegan Bradley, the thing that's not particularly surprising is that we find ourselves 1 year later and he's legitimately a candidate to be on his own team. Because really it's been for the better part of a decade, and you could go back even further than that, that there were players who were, older than he is currently at 38 years of age, that were good enough to where they could compete on the PGA Tour, and they'd have a week and you go, gosh, wouldn't it be something if he was on his own team? I know that was something that was kicked around modestly because Steve Stricker was such a very good player late into his 40s, and he was still playing a fair number of PGA Tour events into his early 50s, that you're going, well, maybe he could be on his team at Whistling Straits. It was never plausible. It was never likely. It was remote at best. I never thought it was even that. But this is somebody who has always been competitive. It was somebody who you thought, well, there's no reason to think that he couldn't win a golf tournament. He wins a golf tournament because he's in all these signature series events. He could be on the team. Well, he joins me now because here we sit 1 year after he was named the Ryder Cup captain, and I'll be a son of a gun. He could be on his own team. The United States Ryder Cup captain, Keegan Bradley. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Hey, Gary, I'm doing great.
What is life like in your house at 8 o'clock on a summer morning? Quiet, chaotic?
It was crazy just a second ago. I was running upstairs. My son actually is going to drive, chip, and putt now, his first ever like golf tournament, and I'm like dying of nerves for him. I've never felt like this, so I had to give him a little hug and a pep talk on the way out. And my youngest is just like wanting to party, so it's a wild scene here right now.
That's a good simulation for you because you're going to feel those same things in a couple of months. Because all these guys on your team, you're going to feel like they're your sons, your brothers, and you're going to be dying lousy for every shot of theirs. Keegan, I was just mentioning, was a year ago today that the PGA of America announced that you were going to be the captain. What about that whole day that I know had to be very disorienting is the thing that you'll remember forever?
Well, I think what I'll remember forever. So they announced it today. They had called me the Sunday night of Hartford, so
Right.
I had been the captain on my own for a week, and it was the craziest time of probably my career because it was such a shock to everything that was going on. I had no idea that this was going to happen, and I was sort of settling into the role. And during that week, I had spoken to some of the players, and that was my biggest concern. I wanted to make sure that the players were okay with this and that felt comfortable with this and wanted this. And when I talked to the guys, that I had this real sense of like calm and like, all right, we can do this. And when I found out how excited they were, that's when I knew that this was going to be a great thing.
You know, one of the things that you disclosed then that Seth Waugh had said to you was that your number was called and that you needed to step up. The other thing, which you internalized and then you shared recently, you mentioned the Travelers, you went in it again, you said that he also said he wanted you to be a playing captain. Why did you think it was important for you to internalize that and not share that at any point until now?
Yeah, I didn't even think much of it when I said it. I wasn't trying to keep that quiet. I just never said it for some reason. I probably shouldn't have. I see it's made a bit of some news, but I think it was important for them to, because part of it was a little bit. I was like, wait a second here. I'm still trying to play. I'm still in the what I think of the prime of my career. I'm not trying to. Normally this role is for someone who's done playing. Their family's much older, and I think they wanted to get across to me that, like, they still wanted me to be a player, and that was important to hear. My goal is always to make a Ryder Cup team every year that they play, our President's
Yep.
Cup team, and so that there's no difference here when I start this year. As I want to play on this team, and it's just a very unique situation that I'm in.
It is. It is just that. And one of the other things, Keegan, that you said at the outset was that you were not going to pick yourself. And I totally got it by you saying that. There's no reason for you to say, well, man, there's a chance I might pick myself. You can't say that either. And I've always believed that things change. Things have changed. You are not in the top six, but you are as good as anybody in terms of, you look at your team, Scheffler's in a category by himself. So now it seems unlikely that you wouldn't pick yourself. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean. So when I started this whole process, I was on my own here. Like I didn't have any of my vice captains. I was just into this role. I had just learned that I was captain. And then I had Webb come on and it felt a little better. It felt like more manageable. Then I had Sneds come on and I was like, okay, now this feels great. I got a team starting. And then Kisner and then Jim and Jim's been spectacular just because of his experience and what he brings, and then Gary Woodland, and then now I have this team of five. As before I was on my own, and it just, everything seems a lot more manageable. They all bring such a different perspective and different attitude towards this, and I feel like they complement each other in a great way.
Keegan, I'm going to share with you my position on this, and this is not you. This is my position, whether it's Europe, the United States, and I've felt this for over a decade because because I know how much you love this, the enormity of the post, that can you be the best at either if you choose to do both? What do you think about that viewpoint?
Well, the strange part about this whole thing is like, there's no baseline for this.
No.
I can't call somebody. I can't call, even Arnold Palmer in 1962 or 3. the Ryder Cup has changed dramatically since then. So there's no, I can't lean on anybody. So I can't like call up a player and say, hey, what was this like? I mean, I've spoken a ton with Tiger. He was a player captain at the President's Cup, and, he's been extremely helpful through this whole process. But you know what? We're all learning this as we go. And, I'm in this unique position where they named me Ryder Cup captain at 39. If they had done this to Tiger or Phil or Jim or Stricker, like, they would have had to go through this too. It's just a, they went a different direction and named me. So there's no baseline here. There's nothing we can lean back on. And like I said, I got great vice captains. It could come a time in 2 months when there's going to be picks that I'm not going to be playing. Like, there's a good chance of that. This isn't like a guaranteed thing. We're still learning. And, I hope every day that someone, comes from that way down the list and has a great British Open and a great playoffs and makes the team and kicks me out.
One last thing on this aspect of it. I go back to you and your first experience, you and Phil. You guys are boat racing teams left and right. And you sat out the Saturday afternoon session, which will always confound me. Like, when when you're on a heater, you stay on a heater. Like, the idea of you conceding something or doing something different because you are the captain and going, I can't play another session. Why couldn't you? Do you think that you'll be able to be pragmatic about those things if you do choose to do both, if you're on a heater, to not bench yourself because you're the captain?
Yeah, well, we have, like I said, with the vice captains, like we're starting to make plans for everything. And I don't care if I play. I don't care if I'm just the captain. I don't care if I play 5 matches. I don't care if I play 1, if I just play singles. I just want to win the Ryder Cup. So whatever that entails, and that goes from me down to the 12th guy on the team, to the cart drivers, to the physios, to the vice captains. Like, we just want to win. We're going to come up with a blueprint to figure this out. We're going to have 10 different scenarios for each session of what could happen, and we're going to figure that out as we get closer. As of right now, we're still trying to, but we've talked about it, and we're going to be ready for whatever comes our way.
The fact that you thought to yourself, I'm not going to talk about any of this in terms of maybe, I got to win a golf tournament. And you won a golf tournament. What have you learned about yourself to know that you had those own expectations on yourself, and with all this noise and all these responsibilities that you performed? What has that taught you about yourself?
Well, I think everyone was really quick to say, like, oh, this is going to make Keegan play poorly. He's got too much on his plate. But nobody, they don't know me, number one. And the Ryder Cup captain when he's playing his best golf is going to play horrible the year that he's the captain. You can't. I always found that funny because there isn't a model that shows that. And the interesting thing about this whole process has been, this Ryder Cup job is 24/7, but when I'm inside the ropes is the only time I can let that go, and I can not be the captain. And then when I leave the ropes, I got to go right back into being captain. I can't worry about, I'm hitting my driver, bad, I'm worried about this one shot on this hole. I got to be the captain. So in a weird way, I feel like one has taken when I leave the course, I stop thinking about my golf game. And when I'm on the course, I can let that Ryder Cup thing go a little bit. It's still there, but I've had this interesting way of going about this where I can, let one of these jobs go a little bit, and I think it's helped both sides.
I had Andrew Novak on the show last week, and he said something to me that I was impressed by. He said that he started thinking about the Ryder Cup, and look, his profile at the time, he was a college player at Wofford. And when Beth Page was announced, it got to him like, somehow, some way, if I'm ever an elite player in this game, like, I want to be on that team, which gets me to this. I know you got data geeks, you got your, these guys who are, they're giving you more information than is imaginable with quantitative information. but heart and soul. And guys who can respond to that environment, how much of that is going to be a factor among the guys that you choose yourself?
100%. And, I think in any sport and on any team and any business and anything in life, everybody knows who the best players are. Everybody knows in a business who the best salesmen are. Everybody knows when you're a kid, when you go play, two-hand touch football and you're picking the team, you know who the best players are. And the players on the U.S. side, they know whatever the stats or the analytics or we're going to look at that, but we also know who's going to be able to handle this. And guys like Andrew Novak have shown throughout the year what a tough competitor he is. I love his mindset, his attitude, and we know, we players know, and we got a really big stretch coming here. Like we got the British Open and then the playoffs, which give out tons of points towards this Ryder Cup. So this team is far from set. There's a lot that can happen.
All right, let me get you out of here with 5 quick questions because it's a big day for the Bradleys. It's drive, chip, and putt day. All right, here's the first one. Who is your current favorite active Boston athlete?
My favorite current Boston, Drake May. Easy.
Yes!
That's an easy question.
Yes, the kid from Charlotte, North Carolina. All right, the last time you stayed up until midnight, people don't realize you're the king of the Irish goodbye. I've seen you leave events and you become a ghost like halfway out the room. When was the last time you were up till midnight?
Any sort of Boston sporting event, I'm up. If the Patriots, selfishly, I love that the Patriots aren't in prime time anymore because they were always playing at prime time and I was having to stay up so late. It's horrible. So any sort of Boston event.
Yeah, Sunday at 1 is not a bad thing until it becomes a thing that it's like 5 years in a row. Then you stink and you get over Sunday at 1. All right, your favorite gambling game with Jordan. Do you have a game that you guys play?
I think I just love being around the guy. He's such a great dude. I can't tell you what a fun I still have this love for golf, and when I have a really fun game that I have the next day, I still can lay in bed and have trouble going to sleep. I'm so excited. And when I get to go have a day with Michael and we're playing 36 and I know we're going to have a match and I love that. I love being around the guy. I love, picking his brain. I like when he's, ribbing me. I just love every second of it.
Yeah, and the kicks have evolved. I mean, you were wearing kind of off the rack stuff. Now your custom kicks they're strong. All right, the best Boston-based movie. What's your #1 Boston-based movie?
That's such an easy question. I don't even know why you have to ask. It's The Town. No question. Easy. #1 by a long way. Okay,
The Town is excellent. I bet, but you have depth. The Departed, Good Will Hunting, Gone Baby Gone. I can go back to The Verdict with Paul Newman.
I think that it's not close. I appreciate your opinion here, and the Departed is great.
No, you really don't.
The Departed is great. The Departed is an all-time classic, but The Town is that's a real Boston movie. The accents are better. The local the things that they do locally are you have to really know the city to know the North End and the Boston gravel. That's the best one.
Okay, last thing, the player on your Ryder Cup kind of radar, you got a lot of guys who are in the mix who text you just arbitrary stuff more than anybody else. Not hey, am I going to be on the team? But always trying to be in your mind. Who is it?
Let me think. Let me think about that because they're all doing it. They're all excited. They're all this is what I just love about this group is my Ryder Cup teams were Tiger, Phil, Stricker, Furyk. This is 100% turnover. So I don't know what it's like to be on a Ryder Cup team with these guys. I know President's Cup, and the camaraderie that they have with one another, the friendships that they have, they remind me of my buddies that I went to St. John's with, where they're best friends, but they also can really rib each other to where I'm like, "Ooh, that was a little serious," and they're laughing. And then, like, the thing that I really envy the most about them is they're genuinely happy for one another. So, like, they like Jordan Spieth wins a tournament, and JT and Ricky are there on 18, but they're not like faking it. Like, they're really pumped for their friend. So, like, I know this is a horrible answer, but they're all texting, they're all into it, they're all like wondering what they can do to help the team, and it's really great.
There are no bad answers, as you know. There are only bad questions. Thank you. I know your time is precious. You're awfully kind to carve out some for me. It's a drive, chip, and putt day for your family. Go get after it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. There is Keegan Bradley, the United States Ryder Cup captain. We take a break. We got a lot more to do. Keith Stewart, read the line, his thoughts on this week, next week, because he's doing it better than anybody. And then Brendon and Johnson and Taylor in studio. We continue right after this. Welcome back in on this Tuesday to 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. Also, it is Channel 92 on SiriusXM's PGA Tour Radio. This segment brought to you by Golf Pride. When it comes to grips, what they offer you is more than anybody else. And I'm talking not only about the different styles of grips, but through the bag, including that reverse taper putter grip series, which is better than any others, and the materials are better. That's why more players, it's not close, trust Golf Pride. All right, joining me now, I did a long 5 Clubs conversation with this gentleman as he was building what he's built. And what he's built is the most reliable, most comprehensive site and information when it comes to being equipped if you were going to dabble and wager maybe on the game of golf, which many people do. It's becoming an enormous thing. He is the face, the voice of Read the Line. He is Keith Stewart. My friend, good morning.
Gary, good morning. What do you know? 2 golf professionals from New Jersey sitting in the same room. Pretty cool.
Yes, indeed. The man who sent me a sweater, so many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
To wear on the air on morning drive. But you made the choice, which was gutsy, to leave the career you had to do something entirely different. And now you built this thing that is so viable when it comes to people getting information that's credible and it's comprehensive. What exactly were you trying to build here?
Well, betting is the fabric of the game, So as a golf professional, I've spent my whole life as a green grass operator, 20 plus years, 5 awards as a PGA professional, right? I knew the game of golf. And when COVID took place and it got more and more popular, I said to myself, geez, there's got to be a way to kind of harness this energy and to keep the popularity going. So being from New Jersey, some stereotypes apply. I like to bet on golf. And it became legal in 2018. So I built Read the Line. And, simply put, we kind of had like 3 North Stars in place when we built this. The first thing was I had to stay true to my PGA roots. Right? And what that meant to me is that I always looked at golf as like a sea of similarity, the media, right? I create proactive content. No one reads me and wonders why somebody shot. Like on Thursday at the Genesis Scottish Open, if Marco Pena, if he shoots 63, everyone runs to a scrum and they ask him why and how. That's not why people read me. They want to know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? And then in order to do that right, I spent my whole life at a golf course. So the second thing was I had to do it at the golf course. So I went out and got credentialed by the PGA Tour, by Augusta National. I was the first person to ever go in and who was only betting focused to be a part of the press pool. And that was a tremendous honor. And then the third thing is that winning is important, right? Everybody wants to win, right? Whether you're playing a golf match against your buddies or it was a routine ladies' day at the club, every tournament is someone's U.S. Open, right? So in 3.5 seasons, as a golf professional, going to the course and creating this content and really paying attention to what the players are doing, I've picked 40 outright winners in the last 3.5 years, and it's been really successful. So, you want to be a better? Come Read the Line.
Well, and I'm sure Scheffler's been among those wins. How do you bet Scheffler now? Because the odds are so short. We're in we're in a neighborhood that it's tiger-like odds. And that's not just before the event starts. It's also with real-time wagering. He was 5 back at the U.S. Open. He was still the betting favorite heading into the weekend. How do you bet Scheffler now?
Well, there's 4 ways you can go about it. Number one is that the start of the week is not the way to do it. You know, if he goes into, let's say, Portrush next week and he's plus 450, it's just not worth it to do at that moment. We have to let the tournament start to breathe and play out, right? Because there's a good chance he might be somewhere around that number with 18 holes to go. So why would you take that risk with 72 holes? So we're going to live bet him. We're going to monitor him that way. The second thing is there's always props. And that's what makes golf betting so much fun. There's a million different props. He could be low American, and then maybe he's going against a third of the field over there at Portrush. So you could bet him that. Yeah, it's not going to be the same number as him winning, but you can compound your interest, let's say, right? There are markets that the books offer because they know that people don't want to deal with Scheffler, so you could bet without Scotty in the field. So that's 3 really quick ways that you can do it. And I mean, that's what we've done. You know, another prop like at Muirfield Village, I bet Scotty plus 350 to be the 3rd round leader. Okay? At the start of the week, he was plus like 275 to win the whole thing. I only needed 54 holes from him.
Yeah.
Right? On Saturday night, or he did that back 9 run on Saturday. If you think he's going to win, you know, hit him a couple different ways, and then you can add up the winnings.
How do you do the next 2 weeks? You've got what you think are theoretically similar conditions. You're going to play in Scotland, then you're going to go to Northern Ireland, Scottish Open to the Open Championship. How do you look at the next 2 weeks?
Well, they're very interesting golf courses, right? One is a major championship, so that's going to amplify a lot of pressure.
Yes.
And that's going to, you know, it's been interesting. I almost feel like the Genesis Scottish Open in some ways is a signature event. I know we've had the 8 of those.
It pretty much is.
Right?
It's the second strongest field of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's so in that way, with it being a preview for Portrush, even though the golf courses are so different, like strokes gained pressure, so strokes gained like closer, or everyone uses the term dog or whatever, right? I think that we're measuring those things this week because we really don't have any strokes gained data that's verified by the tour when we go over there, right? So we really have to do our homework. So I love to look at how people play the Tom Doak design. Now, that's a very American, a link-style golf course. And it looks like the weather's going to be real good this week, and it looks like the weather's going to be very Portrush 2019 next week. So I don't know that there's a really fair comparison between the two, but seeing the same guys compete against one another in back-to-back weeks is a way to look at it.
Okay, let's focus in on this week. And a reminder for folks, we're going to do a full, comprehensive Keith Stewart betting show for the Open Championship that's going to be available for you before next week for everybody to get their minds right. And that is going to be a very beefy program. But with respect to this week, when you bring together DP World Tour members who American golf fans may not be quite as familiar with, and they co-op space in a competition, in a co-sanctioned event with the PGA Tour, what do you like about that aspect, and then how do you handicap it?
Well, you know, the term value is thrown around a lot in betting, right? So in this event, with it being co-sanctioned, you gave me a great lead right there. You know, there's 72 players from the DP World Tour. And everyone, you know, we have a huge domestic bias over here in the United States, and we kind of like ignore the DP World Tour. But there's some great players over there. Roughly 45% of the field, since it went co-sanctioned, those guys make the cut. So as you start to build out your betting card and you start to kind of pay attention to what's going to happen over there, you have to include some of those guys. You know, Rasmus Niergaard Pearson or Marco Pengay. Those guys have to be a part of what you're doing. And I would have seen those guys when I was on property at Quail Hollow or, at the U.S. Open at Oakmont. So, that's the first thing value-wise I'm paying attention to. The other thing is that who's playing well, and look at the odds board. The two numbers that kind of, or the one number, but the two guys that kind of caught my eye was Xander Schauffele and Tommy Fleetwood are at the same number to start the week, plus 2,200 to win, so 22-1 on the money line, right? One guy is two-time major champion last year, and the number 3 player in the world, and the other guy has never won on the PGA Tour, and the last time he teed up at the Travelers, we saw that heartbreaking loss. So there's ways to look at value that way. This week, the weather looks good. We want to score. We're looking for bombers. And if you compare the value of the DP World Tour guys that are there and the odds board, I think you could do very well. Okay,
last thing for right now, and again, we've got a huge show coming with Keith. He's going to drive this whole thing on the Open Championship. Rory, very quickly, you mentioned Bombers. He's won this golf tournament. He did it a couple of years ago. Are you sensing that he's ready for the fight again?
I mean, I think that this
like
is
deep into the pool late on a Sunday.
Yes, and the reason I'll say that is that, I mean, I get that he's had some issues over the last couple months since winning the Masters, right? But those seem to be more off-course related, right? On-course related, it's the approach play. We could easily analyze that and say he was gaining like over 2 strokes a tournament, you know, like per round prior going into the Masters, and he wins 3 times, and he's playing wonderfully, wins the Players, wins the Masters. Since then, the approach game just hasn't been there. But when he lost at Pinehurst last year, everybody was worried about his psyche and everything, and he came back to this event and finished 4th. Right? In the next 8 events, he had 6 top 11 finishes. So, like, he can bounce back. You know, since in majors, I mean, his record's almost impeccable for top 10s. So will he show up? Yes. Will he cross the finish line? He's not going to shoot 79, 65 again at Portrush, right? We don't get a lot of redos in life, Gary, right? Especially when it comes to golf tournaments. He's getting a redo. I think he'll be ready to go. It's
great having you here. We're looking forward to not only the Open Championship show, but much more to come with you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Keith Stewart with us from Read the Line. And again, that Open Championship preview wagering special coming from us before next week when we continue. Johnson, Brendon, Taylor, I don't know if we got room for all of them. They join me next right here. 5 Clubs on Golf Channel, Channel 92, Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. Back with the boys right after this. Back in on 5 Clubs, this segment brought to you by Pinehurst. They just keep adding and adding because they want your experience every time you go there to get better and better. Pinehurst number 11, construction is going to begin soon. The new clubhouse and restaurant at number 10 opening this summer. The cottages at number 8, the new restaurant at the main resort. Station 21 is going to open this fall. Always a good time to book a trip to the cradle of American golf. The boys joining me now have had many great experiences at Pinehurst. We shared one last fall, Harold Varner's 100-hole hike. Of course, Brendon de Jonge, Johnson Wagner, Taylor Zarzour. Gentlemen, it's been a while. Good to see you all.
You as well.
Yeah. All right, let's do as much as we can. We also have an Open Championship preview that people are going to be able to consume later on this week that we're going to do as well. I don't know how much you heard of Keegan. You might have been in transit, you might have been here. Your thoughts on what he had to say?
Terrific interview. You asked some great questions, and you can tell he has just extreme passion for this. Like it's the chance of a lifetime to be the captain of the United States Ryder Cup team. I can't see any scenario where he doesn't play, given the way he's playing right now. And I also can't see any scenario where he isn't officially the captain. I can see a scenario behind the scenes where he gives up a lot of responsibility, primarily to Jim Furyk and to some others. I think that's why Gary Woodland was announced as an additional vice captain last week. But this guy is a kid in a candy store with all he has in front of him. It's a chance of a lifetime.
I heard you say he should be on the team. I get it. Should he also do both? Like, based on everything, you think he's going to be on the team, right?
Yeah, I think he's going to be on the team. And yes, I think he can do both. And I said this to you the other day. I think being the Ryder Cup captain is actually easier than being the President's Cup captain. Ryder Cup, you put in the names, you hand it in when it comes to the team events. President's Cup, you're trying to find matchups. You're trying to find these guys play well against these guys play well against these guys. So I think, yes, Keegan's going to do both.
And to your point, too, Taylor, he's got Brandt, he's got Kevin Kisner, he's got Woodland and Furyk now. There's plenty of guys that can handle the day-to-day stuff while they're on the golf course with the earpieces in. I think this is going to be refreshing. It hasn't been since 1963. Arnold Palmer, a playing captain on either European or U.S. side. I think the way, how much Bethpage Black means to Keegan, growing up around there, going to college at St. John's and playing at Bethpage, I think this is a home run, and I think it's going to be a boost for the whole American team. The only way, the players are going to insist that he picks himself.
They are.
That we've got some really fresh blood on that team potentially this year, and I think we need the veteran leadership of Keegan.
I know you like asking the questions, Gary. Where are you on this?
Well, I don't think he can do both to the best of his ability. If you decide you want to do both, I don't know how you could say he's going to be the best he can be at both, doing both. I just don't. Because as a player, and I thought what he said, I thought he presented himself in an incredibly convincing way. how can he not concede something evaluating himself as opposed to just a player?
But to Johnson's point, I think he is conceding some of the captain responsibilities.
Okay, well then he's conceding some of his responsibilities, and he can't be all that he could be as a captain. That's.
But he's going to deliver the opening ceremony speech. I guarantee you that.
Oh, I'm sure he will.
And there's like what else? All the captaincy stuff is done pre-Ryder Cup. I think
it is
a lot of it. And once you start that tournament, he's going to delegate. He's going to help with the picks and who's going to go play, and he's going to delegate a lot of the on-course responsibility to the 4 capable men he has as his assistants.
I was in the team room for the President's Cup, and that's exactly kind of how it went. Each vice captain was responsible for 3 or 4 guys, and then you had the captain that sort of oversaw everything.
Yeah.
So I don't think that him giving any of this up is going to diminish at all from the captain.
Okay, so the best laid plans are just that. They're the best laid plans. And then all of a sudden Scotty Scheffler gets punched in the grill and loses 5 and 4. And you assume you were going to play him in the afternoon, then what do? And you're playing a match yourself. What do you do when you're on the 14th hole, 1 up?
I keep Scotty Scheffler out there the whole time. You could have used a better example than Scotty Scheffler, Gary.
Well, I mean, he did get boat raced in Rome, did he not?
To answer your question, I think Jim Furyk will have a lot to do with what happens that afternoon if Keegan, in fact, is on the golf course.
Okay.
And I think that Keegan is going to trust him in that. But to what they were saying about the other...
You guys all want this. You all think it's the right call.
I do too. Yeah,
okay.
I do. I think there's a way to figure all of this out. I don't think it's either this or that. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. And the other thing that we're not saying, you had John Wood on recently. Mm-hmm. By the way, I want to be on the John Wood diet. Guy looks great. He's lost a lot of weight. He's getting himself in good shape to be the manager of the Ryder Cup, a position the team has never had before. If you talk to past Ryder Cup captains for the United States, they say all the work they had to do, picking colors and dinners and all of that, is such a burden. He's going to be responsible for that.
He's now the fashionista?
He is, yes.
I didn't know that.
I have one last point.
Yes.
Brant Snedeker is the next President's Cup captain
Yep.
at Medina next year. So I honestly think he will take a big-time leadership role on this team.
More than Furyk?
To be determined, but yes, I think this will be Sned's sort of shadow captain team.
Yeah.
I will say, I want it for the selfish part of covering it. It'll be extraordinary to watch the way that he tries to manage his own energy, which is one of the most critical aspects of this, because it's not just an unusual week in terms of format. Monday, by Wednesday, you're gassed. It's like, can we play a match every single day? You feel like, I mean, the atmosphere there, you guys know this. There's 40,000 people there on Monday. You don't hit a competitive shot till Friday. He talks to the media every single day. You mentioned the opening ceremony. Managing energy. I want it selfishly to cover that aspect of it. I just think it's an enormous ask of anybody. It wouldn't matter if it's him or anybody else. All right, let me get to somebody, who knows? Maybe he gets Rory again in singles like he did at Medina when he comes with his hair on fire in the squad car. Is Rory ready to re-engage to the level starting this week?
I have no idea, and I saw this question
That's
that you
the
had.
best answer
But
you've
I mean,
ever given.
you want an honest answer. I don't know what we're going to get from him this week at the Scottish Open. I'm shocked by how upset he's been the last couple of months. This guy should be celebrating the greatest achievement of his professional career, and he should be going everywhere saying, hey, remember I won the Masters this year and completed the career Grand Slam. He should be wearing his green jacket everywhere. He should be the happiest version of himself that we've seen, and he hasn't been. So I don't know, maybe a hard reset that he's had since he's moved overseas, and now he's refreshed and he's that happy-go-lucky guy that we all love. Maybe we'll see that at the Scottish Open, but I truly do not know.
Yeah.
If you asked me this question a couple months ago, then I would have thought for sure he'd have been so excited to go home. But I don't know what's going on with Rory McIlroy.
What do you guys think?
Good.
If he can't get up for these next few weeks, then it's pretty worrying in my eyes, especially the Open Championship in Ireland. If he can't get up for that, then we've really got to start worrying about Rory McIlroy.
I mean, the way he played at Portrush in 19, hitting his first ball out of bounds, shooting 78 or 9 that first day, coming back and almost making the cut. I think he's got something to prove at Royal Portrush that he didn't in 19, and I think the pressure's off, and I'm confident that we're going to see as you said. If we don't see it, it is troubling.
Yeah,
I sure hope so, because that's so good for the game. It's one of the most favorite things in the game is to see Rory McIlroy having so much fun playing the game and how creatively he plays it, and get to do it miles away from where you grew up. If he's a factor in the Open next week, that's a wonderful thing for golf.
Yeah, you know, he came off the mat at Pinehurst and went to the Scottish last year and played well, and then didn't fire at all in the Open Championship. My sense is that he will have a good couple of weeks, but I think it's very practical to have the position you have. Like, I really don't know. This last 2 months has been very strange compared to what we thought it was going to be, even though the reset after Augusta was going to be hard here at Quail Hollow. All right, let me ask you about this week being a great week. Great field, great mix of players. On a golf course that is in a great part of the world. I've never been to the Renaissance Club. I know how much you love saying it.
Renaissance.
Should there be another co-sanctioned event somewhere between the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour?
I think so. I certainly think so.
What are we doing here? Why wouldn't they?
It doesn't need to be between the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour either. I think they need to play in Australia.
Okay.
I think Australia is a sport-rich country. They absolutely love golf. They've been starved of the stars down there. I mean, you used to look at those fields at the Australian Open. You'd get all the big stars who would go down there and play. Doesn't happen anymore. Those guys are starved. You look at even Live Adelaide, how those crowds turned out for that. Imagine what the crowds would turn out for if you got all the biggest names in Australia.
Yeah, Rory is going to go there at the end of the year. Obviously, you know, you mentioned Jack always went there. Spieth won there in 14 and kind of was the impetus for what happened in 15. Do you have a spot that you think makes the most sense for them to do another co-sanctioned event?
Yeah, and I like the idea of Australia, but they always struggle for sponsorship dollars there. I think that's been the big reason why we haven't gone back on a full scale. I think the Irish Open would be great if you had like a 3-tournament series going into the Open Championship. And I also think if you had a co-sanctioned event around a European-hosted Ryder Cup every other year, maybe the week or so before, I think that would be a good window to do it as well.
I think July is the time to do this, is to have those co-sanctioned events. And to Johnson's point, it'd be good to have maybe 1 or 2 more. Who knows? The BMW PGA Championship, the premier event on the
Move
DP
it back
World Tour.
on the calendar?
Yeah, put it somewhere around the Open, maybe right after the Open. That would make some sense. But back to what he said about Brendon said about the Australian Open. The smartest thing the PGA Tour does is it gets out of the way for football when football starts. To me, the thing that they do that I disagree with the most is they start their season in the playoffs of the NFL and have golf tournaments going on while playoff games are going on. And for the life of me, I don't understand that. It would make a lot more sense.
Wait till February?
Well, I think it would make more sense to go to like Australia, go out of the country to start the year. It either do Tuesday through Friday and totally get out of the way of football, wait until February, or start overseas, start somewhere else in the world where that would be the time of year that would make the most sense to me. And I love the Australian Open, the passion for that event over there. I mean, that's treated like one of the biggest events in the world.
Yeah, no doubt. And a great roto golf course. As we come back, with respect to this week, all these guys that played golf in the British Isles, their thoughts on the best places, best memories. We're back on 5 Clubs right after this. All right, back in just a couple minutes to go here. We've got our Open Championship preview that will be available for you with the whole crew here by the end of the week. And this segment brought to you by Peter Millar. And when it comes to whatever you need swim trunks, you need a sport coat, you need slacks, shorts, they've got it all at petermillar.com. All right, boys, we only have a couple of minutes. You're headed over there tonight to play some golf with your son, which I think it's inspiring. It makes me very happy to hear that. You did it last year. Down the line, we're only going to do 3 here. Maybe we'll expand it in the Open Championship preview show. 3 golf courses, your 3 favorite in the whole British Isles.
Royal Aberdeen, absolutely loved it. They played a Scottish Open there a few years ago. Where else? Lytham St Anne's. I played a junior open at Lytham St Anne's. I thought that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Birkdale. Absolutely.
Those are your 3.
Love Birkdale.
Okay. How about you?
Well, having 3 is tough, and it's probably going to change after this week. But Royal Dornoch, the old course, Muirfield.
Okay.
Yeah, this is really tough.
It's very hard.
The hang at Muirfield, the lunch at Muirfield would be number one if we're just talking about the lunch. Old Course, Royal County Down, North Barrack.
Gosh. As you say these names, I go, yes.
Are you changing one?
Yes,
No, well, I mean, I love North Barrack, but go ahead. Gary.
I like the fact that I'm not going to put the Old Course in my 3. Royal County Down, Sunningdale, which I think is like the greatest enchanted forest in the world, and Muirfield. I've had experiences there. You're going to go play golf with your son. I've played Muirfield with my dad on a few occasions, and I know how you felt about experiences with your dad. They're indelible moments. But that day, that place is the most complete experience I've ever had. That would be my 3. But we're going to make it 12 in the Open Championship show. We got a lot to get to with the boys. Like I said, he's headed over tonight. Of course, you're headed over as well. You're going to be on Open Championship Radio. You're going to go to Northern California and play some golf. But between now and then, our Open Championship show, we thank Keegan Bradley. We thank Keith Stewart. Tomorrow on this program, Trevor Immelman, lead analyst for CBS. They've got the Scottish Open this week. And Lee Westwood is going to join us as well. 52 years of age, got through final qualifying. Looking forward to his thoughts. He finished 4th at Portrush in 2019. For all of us here on 5 Clubs, have a great Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.